Noah had spent years chasing a goal, yet he felt farther from it than when he began. He had studied when others relaxed, sacrificed, rejected distractions, and told himself that one more attempt would change everything. But around him, people were moving forward. Friends were getting opportunities. People once behind him were building careers and reaching milestones Noah had only imagined. Every success made his silence louder. Then came another rejection. That evening Noah sat staring at the message on screen. He had no anger left, only exhaustion. Maybe this just isn't meant for me. Now, quitting felt easier than continuing. As he stood to walk away from everything he had worked for, an older man nearby looked at him and asked, "What if you're not being told no? What if you're simply being told not yet?" Noah paused. He had heard people talk about patience, but patience feels different when you're deeply exhausted. Noah thought waiting meant losing time. He didn't yet understand that sometimes waiting is what prepares you for the thing you're asking for his future. Noah was never afraid of hard work. What frightened him was the feeling that all his effort might never be enough. He wanted financial independence. He wanted a better career, enough money to support his family, and the freedom to stop worrying about whether tomorrow would be easier than today. So he kept trying. He applied for opportunities. He studied late at night. He practiced skills that felt difficult. He started projects, abandoned some, improved others, and convinced himself that the next attempt would finally be different. But whenever progress seemed close, something happened. A friend succeeded first. Someone with less experience received the opportunity Noah had wanted. Another application was rejected. Another plan collapsed before it could become anything real. Slowly, Noah stopped measuring his progress by his own journey. He started measuring it against everyone else's. If I were good enough, he thought, it would have happened already. His family kept telling him to be patient, but Noah heard something different in those words. To him, patience sounded like an excuse people used when they were afraid to act. One night, exhausted by another disappointment, Noah looked at everything he had tried and whispered, "How long am I supposed to keep waiting?" Across the street, an older shopkeeper named Mr. Samuel had heard him. Samuel had watched Noah struggle for months. "You're asking the wrong question," he said. Noah looked at him. "Then what should I ask?" Samuel paused. "You're asking when your life will change. You should be asking what you're becoming while you wait." Noah didn't like the answer, but somehow he couldn't forget it. For the first time, Noah wondered whether the waiting itself had a purpose, and whether the person he was becoming mattered more than the opportunity he was waiting to receive there. The next morning, Samuel took Noah outside behind his small shop and pointed toward a young tree growing near the fence. Noah looked at it confused. "Why are you showing me that?" Samuel smiled. "Because you keep thinking growth should happen faster." He pointed to the soil around its roots. "You can water a seed, you can protect it, you can give it sunlight, you can remove the weeds around it. But you cannot pull on its branches and command it to become a tree today." Noah remained silent. Samuel continued, "Growth has a preparation stage that nobody celebrates." That sentence stayed with Noah. He had spent so long measuring his life by visible results that he had forgotten about everything happening underneath the surface. Skills were developing. Character was developing. Discipline was developing. Experience was accumulating. Even mistakes were teaching him judgment. Relationships were forming in ways he couldn't yet recognize. Samuel looked at the young tree again. "The seed is not wasting time underground," he said. "It is becoming capable of surviving above it." For the first time, Noah wondered whether his own waiting period was actually empty. Maybe the unanswered applications, failed attempts, and slow progress weren't proof that his life was standing still. Maybe they were preparing him for something he wasn't ready to handle yet. Still, Noah wasn't completely convinced. "So how do I know this waiting will actually lead somewhere?" he asked. Samuel didn't promise that it would. Instead, he gave Noah a challenge. For the next 30 days, stop asking when your opportunity will arrive. Start preparing yourself for the person who will be ready when it does. Noah looked at the tree once more. He still wanted the opportunity. He still wanted his life to change. But perhaps, for the first time, he was willing to become different before demanding that his circumstances become different. For the next 30 days, Noah decided to stop chasing answers and start building habits. The strange part was that nothing changed at first. The phone stayed silent. No exciting email arrived. No opportunity suddenly appeared. Every morning still looked ordinary, and other people still seemed to be moving ahead while his own life appeared painfully slow. But Noah remembered Samuel's words. Instead of asking why life was unfair, he began asking what he could control today. Every morning, he woke up an hour earlier and studied one skill connected to his dream. He practiced speaking more clearly, improved his communication, organized his finances, exercised before breakfast, and stopped spending his evenings comparing his life to strangers on social media. The changes were almost invisible. No applause. No promotion. No instant success. Only small promises made and kept. And those small promises slowly began changing something inside him. One afternoon, another rejection arrived. His heart sank for a moment. The old Noah would have stared at the message, convinced it was proof that nothing would ever work. He would have questioned his worth and spent days wondering why everyone else seemed luckier than him. This time he closed the email, took a deep breath, and asked a different question. What can this rejection teach me? He reviewed his application carefully and discovered weaknesses he had ignored before. His communication wasn't as clear as he thought. His portfolio was incomplete. There were skills he still needed to strengthen. Instead of quitting, he improved them. Weeks later, another opportunity appeared. He prepared more carefully than ever. When the results came back, he wasn't selected again. The disappointment still hurt. Waiting did not suddenly become easy. But something remarkable happened. He continued anyway. When Samuel saw him the next day, he simply said, "Waiting doesn't mean sitting still." Those words finally made sense. Waiting without preparation is helplessness. Waiting with preparation is progress. Noah realized his life had never been completely stuck. He had only been measuring movement by visible rewards instead of invisible growth. Every day he was becoming a little more capable, a little more disciplined, and a little more resilient than the day before. Then, just as he stopped obsessing over the timeline, something unexpected happened. An opportunity appeared that was bigger than anything he had been chasing. And for the first time, Noah wondered whether he was truly ready for it. The opportunity arrived on an ordinary morning. Noah almost ignored the message because he had trained himself not to expect good news anymore. But when he opened it, he read the words twice. An organization was looking for someone with exactly the kind of skills he had been working to develop. They had seen his recent work and wanted to speak with him. For a moment, Noah couldn't believe it. This was the opportunity he had been asking for. But then came the uncomfortable realization. It required skills he hadn't possessed 6 months earlier. He needed to communicate clearly, solve problems under pressure, organize his work, and explain what he had learned. Once, those requirements would have exposed him immediately. Now they felt challenging, but possible. Noah suddenly remembered the rejection emails. The applications he thought had proven he wasn't good enough. The mornings he believed were wasted. The days he wondered why everyone else was moving forward. What if those moments hadn't been punishment? What if they had been preparation? The rejection had forced him to improve. The delay had given him time to develop. The failure had shown him what he needed to fix. And the waiting had taught him how to continue when nothing was rewarding him yet. Rejection had become preparation. Delay had become development. Failure had become feedback. Waiting had become readiness. When the opportunity finally arrived, Noah wasn't successful because the world had suddenly become easier. He was ready because he wasn't the same person who had originally wanted it. Afterward, he returned to Samuel. "I understand now," Noah said. "I understand why you told me to stop asking when." Samuel smiled, but then he shook his head. "You understand only half of it." Noah frowned. "What am I missing?" Samuel looked at him carefully. "Waiting doesn't guarantee that you'll receive the exact thing you want. That's not what patience promises. Sometimes the thing you're waiting for changes. Sometimes the path changes. Sometimes the answer looks completely different from what you imagined." He paused. The deeper gift of waiting is that it gives you time to become capable of handling whatever comes next. Noah thought about that for a long moment. He had spent months wishing his circumstances would change. Now he understood something far more important. The waiting had been changing him. Noah returned to the same place where he had once considered giving up. He remembered how defeated he had felt that evening, convinced that every unanswered application and every failed attempt was evidence that he was falling behind. Back then, he believed progress only counted when something visible happened. A new job, a promotion, an opportunity, a result he could show someone. Now he understood how incomplete that definition had been. Samuel stood beside him and said, "There are seasons in life that look unproductive from the outside." He pointed toward a nearby field. A farmer doesn't dig up a seed every morning just to check whether it's growing. Then he added, "And a builder doesn't destroy a foundation because the house isn't finished yet." Noah smiled. He finally understood. A person learning a difficult skill doesn't become excellent after a few attempts. A business doesn't become successful simply because someone works hard for a few weeks. And a dream doesn't become meaningless simply because its results take longer than expected. "Waiting isn't the opposite of progress," Noah said quietly. Samuel nodded. "Exactly. But remember, patience doesn't mean sitting still. It means continuing to prepare without demanding immediate proof." That distinction changed everything. The old Noah had believed, "If it hasn't happened yet, I'm failing." The new Noah asked, "If it hasn't happened yet, what can I build while I wait?" And suddenly, the lesson applied far beyond his own story. Maybe you're waiting for the job that hasn't arrived. Maybe you're building a business that still feels painfully small. Maybe you're learning a skill that continues to frustrate you. Maybe you're waiting for the right relationship, the right opportunity, or the dream you've carried for years. The delay can be painful. It can make you question yourself. But sometimes, while you're waiting for the outcome, life is quietly building the abilities, discipline, wisdom, and perspective you'll need when that outcome finally arrives. Noah had once looked at waiting and seen lost time. Now he looked at it differently. Sometimes the season that feels like nothing is happening is the season when the most important things are being built. What are you waiting for? Maybe you're waiting for a better job, more money, a business to finally succeed, someone to notice how hard you've been trying. Maybe you're waiting for your English to improve, for a difficult season to end, or for one opportunity that finally gives you the chance to prove yourself. But Noah's story asks a deeper question. What are you doing while you wait? Because waiting doesn't always mean sitting still. Sometimes waiting means preparing. It means learning when nobody is watching, practicing when the results are still invisible, building when nobody believes in the idea, healing when life has exhausted you, and becoming stronger before circumstances give you a reason to feel strong. The first lesson is simple. Stop asking only when. When will the job come? When will things improve? When will someone notice me? Start asking different questions. What can I learn while I wait? What skill can I build? What mistake can I correct? What can I improve today? If you're learning English, you don't need to wait until you suddenly become fluent. Read one page. Learn 5 words. Listen for 10 minutes. Speak for 5 minutes. Write 5 sentences. Those actions may feel almost too small to matter. But small improvements accumulate. The second lesson is to stop comparing your timeline with someone else's. This is especially difficult now because social media allows you to see other people's achievements every day. You see someone getting the job. You see someone starting a business. You see someone traveling, succeeding, buying a home, or reaching a goal you still haven't reached. And suddenly, your own progress feels slow. But you are usually seeing their result, not their preparation. You see the opportunity, but not the years they spent becoming ready for it. You see the success, but not the applications that were rejected, the mistakes they made, or the nights when they wondered whether they should quit. Comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20 will always make you feel behind. Your timeline doesn't need to look like theirs. And the third lesson may be the most important. Don't let patience become an excuse. Waiting does not mean doing nothing. If you want a better job, prepare for it. If you want to build a business, learn the skills required. If you want better English, practice consistently. If you want a healthier life, change one habit. You cannot control exactly when an opportunity will arrive. But you can influence who you become before it arrives. So here's a simple challenge. For the next 7 days, write down one thing you're currently waiting for. Then identify one skill connected to that goal. Spend 25 focused minutes developing it. During those 25 minutes, don't compare yourself with anyone else. Don't check who is ahead. Don't measure your progress against someone else's timeline. Just work. Then at night, write down one thing you improved that day. After 7 days, ask yourself one honest question. Did I spend this week waiting or preparing? That question can reveal more than you expect. Because Noah once believed waiting meant his life was being delayed. Later, he understood something much more powerful. The waiting wasn't necessarily empty. It was where he became ready. And perhaps that's the part of your story you cannot see yet. Maybe you don't understand why something hasn't happened. Maybe you've prayed for an opportunity, worked for it, prepared for it, and still received silence. Sometimes life doesn't explain its timing. Sometimes you may never know why one door stayed closed, while another opened later. But you can still choose what to do with the space between where you are and where you want to be. You can waste that space wishing you were already there. Or you can use it to become the person who will be ready when the moment finally arrives. You may not be able to control when your opportunity arrives, but you can control who is standing there when it does. So don't waste your waiting period wishing you were already there. Use it to become ready for the life you're asking for. And if you are willing, leave a comment and finish this sentence. I am waiting for, and today I will start preparing by. Because sometimes writing the answer is the first step toward taking ownership of your future. Remember Noah. He once looked at waiting and saw wasted time. Later, he looked back and realized that some of his most important growth had happened during the season when nothing seemed to be happening. A seed may look buried before it looks like it's growing. Your waiting season may look the same. Keep preparing. Keep growing. Your time is not necessarily being wasted.